Welcome, everyone. My name's Chris. I'm a bookseller at Boswell Book Company. Today is day 4,246 that Boswell has been a bookstore in business. I'm really excited to welcome Kiese Laymon. And tonight we're really lucky because once again, we're having our event co-hosted by America's Black Holocaust Museum here in Milwaukee. They've been a great event partner. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to do some introducing. Let me introduce Sydney Key, Director of Operations at America's Black Holocaust Museum. And now I'm going to disappear. Sydney, take it away.
I just want to say again, I'm Sydney Key with America's Black Holocaust Museum, and I am thrilled to be here this evening with you all. I read the initial release in 2000, I think it was 2013. And I was so thankful that we got the invitation to partner with Boswell on this event this evening. I can't say enough how much I enjoyed seeing the revision, the just the growth, the new potency. I really enjoyed the first release of this book and these essays, but this one, there's just a different level of writing and transparency here that I really enjoyed. So I think you all are going to enjoy this discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank Boswell for having us. Amina, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
I just want to thank you most of all, fam. And when they asked me if I wanted to do like a virtual tour thing, I thought a lot about one of the thematic threads in the new edition, which is like radical friendship. And ever since we met in person and I met your family when I met you, you've just been like a ride or die friend for me and to me in so many ways. And I just wanted to talk to people who I really felt were like real friends on this thing. So thank you for saying yes.
I was just listening to that Kanye song. About being, well, I am pretty much a deadbeat cousin.
Oh, that's funny.
I was very surprised and I was going to say no, but my family said I had to say yes. So here I am.
Thank your family. I'm thankful for your family.
And so I thought I would say just a little something about how I got introduced to you, which was my family. In 2015, my sister sent a message to all of our family saying, basically, you need to read this guy. You need to read this guy. He's so good. My sister, Kim Welly. And then my other sister, Stephanie's like, I already sent you stuff by him. But the best thing that he's written by far is The Worst of White Folks. You guys need to read that, right? Cam had sent us Our Kind of Ridiculous, but and then, so that is where it started. And then after that, I just didn't read you because you kind of just had essays so I would read whatever essay came up.
Right.
But then, like 3 events happened in my life. The first event that happened in my life was my dad got diagnosed with cancer. He was in Africa. He just retired. In 2015, he had to fly back because he was feeling really sick and he ended up getting pancreatic cancer. And so that was like a thing where I'm like, I need to be closer to family. I was in Portland then. I'm like, I need to get cancer. I need to make choices, different choices. But you say that all the time and then you just don't.
Right.
And then I went and then saw my friend the next year in August of 2016. My dad was feeling much better. He was in remission. Who's 42 years old, who'd gotten cancer when we were in high school, died of cancer. And then he was a guy who knew he was on bioethics. His name was Roger Shue. And he lived his life to the fullest. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, get ready, Josh and Peter, get busy living, get busy dying. And so I'm like, I'm going to make a 2-year vow to myself. In 2 years, I'm not going to be in this job. I'm not going to be in this place. I'm going to be closer to family. I'm going to do that. But I made that decision. I'm like, yeah. And then Christmas rolled around. My dad got another occurrence of cancer. And I started reading How to Slowly Kill Yourself. And so I read that book. I gave everyone that book. I think that's the first time you liked something of mine or whatever, because I had made a package of your books and Jessamyn's books, and I gave them to everyone I knew because I'm like, these are the voices that I want to hear. Like, these are the things that I need right now. So right after that, I went and gave my notice. I was December, but I gave my notice for that next June, like that I wasn't going to be doing it. I started looking into how to sell my house, other things. Unfortunately, I did not get back home until right after my dad died. In 2018. He died in 2018, the same month that your Heavy came out.
Right.
And so I had already pre-ordered and sent to my mom's house because I thought everybody would be there for the holidays and stuff. Then to my mom's house. And so when everybody was there at the memorial, I'm like handing out your book to everybody.
Wow.
I hadn't read it yet. And then I read it. And then everyone in my family and my friends pretty much probably hated me for the amount that I talked about this book, the amount I literally used it as my Bible of no offense, what I was never going to do again, and what I was going to do again. And it was like having that radical love, but also that radical honesty with my relationships. And that if I couldn't do that, then I couldn't be in that relationship anymore. And it didn't matter if I knew the person forever or if I'd known them for a day, that if the person wasn't, because lying is just so hard because you got to keep up with that lie.
Right.
And you can be with people who've harmed you or actually continue to harm you, but you need to be able to say to them, you're harming me.
Yeah.
So that is what that book gave me. And I'm going to tell you, as many people who love that I found your book, there are people that do not like that I found that book, because I use it as a guide of saying, hey, this is what it looks like to be 100% honest with yourself and someone that you love, which generally, if it's a person you love, that person's more valuable to you than yourself. So that is my story of how I began to love Kiese Laymon.
I'm I feel so lucky, you know, like that night we all met. I felt lucky. I was sick as hell. It's crazy how sick I was now. Like I would, like think about how, I was visibly pretty bad. And then you were just so kind. Like you gave me those, like, what are they called? Whoopie pies? Is that what they call?
Cakesters or fake cakesters.
Oh, fake cake. Oh man. And it was in Saratoga, I think, right? Was it Saratoga? Yeah. And I just felt like so lucky. I mean, partially because I'm like I'm forever a fat boy. Like you give me food, I'm gonna just be so happy. But you gave me food, and then like you continue to, ask incredible questions of me or push me sometimes when I wouldn't push myself in different ways. So I'm just very, very thankful to have space to talk about whatever we're gonna talk about tonight.
Right. So I got a couple questions for you right out the bat. My sister Stephanie's question was, what do you think the difference between Black abundance and Black excellence is?
Yeah, that's a great question right off the rip. For me, excellence is much more like lean, like it's aspirational. To me, abundance like can't be quantified. Do you know what I mean? I think we know when we did excellent on a test. I don't know if we know as much if we're living abundantly. And so abundant and also excellence in the way that it's been manufactured and given to us, sometimes like flirts with this notion of perfection. Like the Black abundance to me has little to do with perfection. It's like about the like abundant Black desire to do more than thrive and to do more than survive. And I think, one way I look at our Black abundance is through our language and the way we touch through language. So for me, it's just like one is about like aspiration, straight up and down, quantifiable, and one is just like sort of not. And that's like the most basic way I would explain that. That's a great question to start off with. Damn.
Then my other sister, Cam Welly, who her question was, if you could reach back across time and talk to your younger self who had just sold this book and bought this book back for yourself and looked at all your successes, what would he say? What would the younger Key say if he saw who you were right now?
Wow. Okay, because you're answering that question, I'm gonna be honest with you. No, fam, because there's a dishonest answer, but actually the younger me would be like, how'd you get so fat? You know what I'm saying? Like the younger me would like, I mean, I had no idea that I would ever like live to see my work like benefit my family. And so as a younger person, when I say younger, I'm talking about until I was like 35, 36. I mean, I knew I was in decent shape, and all I wanted to do around that time is like not gain a lot of weight. And then when I finally fucking started like doing my art the right way, lots of things happened, and in addition to other things, I started gaining a ton of weight. So I think the younger person wouldn't even be enamored with the success. It'd just be like, damn, bro, you fat. I do
You think
think
10-year-old Kiese would say that?
Oh no, okay. I thought you meant the version of me.
No, like
10-year-old me. I mean, 10-year-old me might say, 10-year-old me would be like, I was a sweet boy. So even if I think I'd be like, you got nice shoes for an old dude, because I do. I rock. I mean, like I don't put much into my anything. I mean, I do wear. I mean, it probably looks like I wear the same hoodie all the time, but I wear lots of different hoodies. And
that's why I'm wearing. Homage. I can't wear a baseball cap because I don't own any. But
I feel that. But yeah, I think a younger me would be like, you got nice shoes for an old dude. Okay, like, can we go back and watch Voltron? Something like that, Somebody said put something in the chat. Do you see it?
Did they? Let me see. I loved Heavy. I'm looking forward to the others. Thank you for your work and your honesty. Can you tell us how your writing has affected your relationship with your mother? And I'm going to compound this with another question that Cam had, which was that she was saying, as you continue to writing to heal your relationship with your mom, does your continual growth make it harder to reconcile with her humanness? She's asking that question because as a parent, lots of times you're just seen from your child as the mother or father, and it's kind of seeing your parent as a human who goes through life. So what is that like?
That's a great question, because like for me, writing about my mom has been like an attempt at seeing her beyond my mama. And
Right.
And in some ways easy, because she had me when she was 19, and we're very close. We were closer in age than a lot of my other friends' mothers. And a lot of people, because of my size, like I was bigger than her really early, so people always thought that was my sister. And we had that was my best friend for most of my young life. My mama was my best friend. But what I'm trying to show in Heavy by the end is that, in addition to seeing her as not just a mother, but an academic, a professor, a lover of Mississippi, I saw her as a child, like my grandmother's child, but also at different points in our relationship, she was sort of my child. You know what I'm saying? Like she had to take care of me, but I had to take care of her. And I just think, like, parents and children, like, you take turns leaning, you take turns playing roles at some points. At least I do with my mama. So I've definitely been able to appreciate her growth as a human being much more than like her growth as a mother. But for most of my life, I was definitely doing that thing where I was like holding it against her because she wasn't being the mother that I wanted her to be. And often that meant she was being the woman she needed to be, but I couldn't understand that as a young person.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it vacillated between my mom, my older brother, and Cam Wally being my best friends. And then when my little sister was born, I was just telling her the other day, I thought it was inappropriate that I was 10 years older and that for the time where she was like 5 to 15, she was my best friend. But I think it's hard to go into that different thing. I always say to my mom, I think I would be friends with you if we weren't related, but I don't know if you'd be friends with me.
Ooh. That's tough, because my mother and I would not be friends at this point in our lives. I mean,
like if you met each other, if you were two people who just met each other,
we wouldn't be friends. I mean, I would respect her from a distance, my mama, but we wouldn't. I mean, that's so crazy. I've never even said that out loud, but we became best friends partially through like proximity. You know what I'm saying? Like, living in a tiny apartment together, and then living in a bigger apartment together, then living in a tiny house together, then living in a bigger house together. and you see, like, I mean, and I think secrets are really a big part of friendship. That's what I'm trying to show heavy. Like, my mama knows secrets that I don't even know about myself, right? Like, she can tell me things about me that I'm gonna say are not true, but she saw them, and vice versa. Like, we tried to hide things from each other, but we couldn't. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think my mother would befriend me if she didn't know me, and I definitely don't think I'd be befriending her if she
Yeah,
wasn't.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm striving to. Like, I'm trying to look at the relationships and see if certain people are summer camp. Like, did you ever go to
Yes.
camp?
Yeah,
Like, you
one
have a
year.
great time and you know that person and you're like, we're going to keep in touch, we're going to keep in touch. But some people are just for a time and place. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. And I say that with personal relationships as well. I don't understand the ickiness or the anger or whatever, but sometimes people are just the right person for the time and place. And it doesn't mean that they're necessarily that right person for right now. And that goes for family. I mean, my sister's a little harsher. Cam Welly is like a little harsher. She says, family is like quiche, you can always make another. So she's just, so she's a little bit more hardcore about that. So,
You know, I think about that a lot with, like, because your okay, are you friends with your family? Your family's
absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
And I would be friends with almost all of my family members, I would say, almost all of my family. And I have best friends, like ride or die best friends,
Right.
who would, if I called at 3:00 in the morning, would literally fly on a plane and have flown on a plane because I was having problems. But I also have friends that were really important during a time, and you just kind of outgrow each other because you're doing different things in life. But like, I have a childhood best friend, her name is Cecily. I have a high school best friend whose name is Christy. I have an adult best friend whose name Leanne, and my college best friend Buffy, who you met, who is my daughter's godmother. My friend Cecily was there when my daughter was born. I mean, these are people. My friend Christy came and got a truck and helped me move when I was in too small of a place when I had Chloe when she was little.
Right.
So I mean,
it's funny to watch grown men attempt to, like, create or sustain, like, intimate friendships with other grown men, because a lot of times we don't know how to receive and we don't know what to say. So, like, it's been really interesting, you know, because I've been thinking a lot about friendship, and two of my friends in the last, like, 2 months, who are men who I grew up with, and we just been trying to, like, you know, get our friendship back. They didn't really know how to express it. They didn't say I love you, but like, they both know each other, but they don't know each other said this, but they were like really happy with something that I said or did to or for one of them. And then they both, to different degrees, were like, bruh, I'd kill a nigga for you. And like, I'm just like, first of all, fam, we ain't there no more, right? You know what I'm talking about? Like, we not in Jackson. You can tell me you love me. You don't have to be like, I'll kill somebody for you. Like, understand you. No. And they meant it. They meant it.
My thing is, I will ask you no questions. I will help you bury the body. Like that's my line. I will, without any question, I will help you bury the body. Like,
I had to be like, fam, we're not doing that. Like,
the level
me.
of yes.
Yeah.
But you have one of the most exciting, like, friend groups of all time to me. All time. Yeah. You went and had your first, like, face-to-face with Damon Young, and it was like, you've known each other forever, right?
Yeah.
And like forever. And then just your Echo group is like, I wanted that to go on for hours. I wanted to be a fly on the wall. Seeing how Kai just lives now in Williamstown. I mean, it was like, I need this to happen. I will cook all the food. Tell me what you want to cook. And I just need to hear that happen. And
Kai
then, I
is
mean,
genius. Kai and Damon, but you know, the thing about Damon was, like, again, it was one of those situations where, from my point of view, I don't want to speak for Damon. Like, you know, I'd read Damon so much, and we messaged so much, and then when you meet him in real life, at the end of the day, like, we can talk all that highfalutin shit, but like, I just wanted Damon to like me. You know what I'm saying? And then I liked him, and I didn't want to, like, not act like I, you know, because sometimes I think, especially if you're grown, and you know, if you're like, you know, like, just like rough, supposedly cis heterosexual man, you know, you can't like laugh too much at other men's jokes and shit. And I was just like, ah. I'm falling all over Damon because it was a rigorous, happy ass conversation we had too. I'm glad you always bring that conversation up.
It was great because my favorite part ever was when you're like, I'm not trying to sound like a therapist, but you weigh yourself after every single time you work out. I think you need to talk to someone.
You heard that part? Because I know that because he was like, I take a shower and I weigh myself, or I weigh myself before my shower and after. And I wasn't trying to be all in his business, but I was just like, yeah, that sounds like something I'm pretty familiar with. Man.
Yeah.
I got a name for that.
Somebody asked, what have you learned about yourself between the first edition and the new edition?
I think I learned to be okay with what people call success. I'm still learning that, but I think I learned more than anything else that, like, I was talking about this yesterday, when Heavy came out, and even when How Slowly came out, like like, because it was just so hard for me to get my books out, when people started to say they read them, at first I didn't believe it. And then I did that thing where, like, I would try to punish myself when something good happened to me, because I wanted to be the one who controlled, like, the fall. And anytime I thought, like, anytime people told me that they read my shit, I would just feel like I was going higher and higher and higher, which means I got scared or more afraid. So then I would just try to do things to, like, get me closer to the ground. And now, honestly, for lots of reasons, I'm less committed to, like, taking my legs out. I'm less committed to harming myself. I can still figure out ways to do it in really creative ways, which ultimately, I think when I'm not harming myself, I'm not harming those people close to me either. So I think I'm a better person than I was. I mean, the books helped me, and I need to be better. I need to spend a lot of time in therapy, but I am definitely a better person than I was when those books came out. I mean, when How Slowly comes out, the first one, I hadn't written Heavy, like, and I really needed to write Heavy just like as a human being to move through some shit, So I think I'm a kinder person. I think I'm
heavier.
Child, they be,
or lighter, or as Chloe says, lighter and then fucking air.
People been trying to get me to write the heavier heavy sequel.
I think it needs to be about 10 years, like heavier and then heaviest. If it's more heavy, if it's not heavier, then it's lighter.
Yeah.
And then
I'm not gonna mess with it. I'm not gonna mess with it.
I'm not talking about, because it is a slice of life. I think that it'd be interesting to look in 10 years from when you wrote it, your slice of life.
Absolutely. Then. No question.
Like, not necessarily something to your mother, but maybe something to your partner or to your child, if you have one,
or my father,
or your father. That would be, I didn't want to go there, but you went there. Yeah. So, okay, to your father. Yeah. They say, what is your favorite essay in the collection and why? My favorite essay in the collection is Now Mississippian Days. It used to be forever The Worst of White Folk, just because it's so good. It's so good.
That's crazy. Nobody ever said that before.
But my favorite is my Vassar ID. And I didn't say that. My Vassar ID is what made me actually, because I was still working, even though I said I was going to quit. I worked for 2 weeks after I was supposed to. And I read that essay, my Vassar ID, and I'm like, I have got to get out of there. I think that there's a lot of similarities of being in a nonprofit for many, many years to like being in academia, that you feel like more of a commitment to them than they do to you. Yeah. And your students or my clients still always need you. And so you feel a commitment to them, but the people who are, your bosses or the people who make decisions don't really give a crap about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, that essay, I always say that essay, my Vassar College ID makes everything okay. Like, that essay got me, too heavy. But I said this the other day, but I didn't put that essay in the collection because
I didn't think it belonged in the collection.
It didn't, right? The tone.
It's my favorite one, but it's not. It's not the same tone.
Tonally, it was. I was writing from that place. I don't like to inhabit a lot where I'm like, fuck it. Like, I want to burn it all down, including myself. Like, let's go. Like, let's see who can stand the heat the hottest, And
I kind of like those moments though, because then it makes me feel like very thankful that they're not always that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do think my favorite essay in that collection, like right now, is that Mississippi an awakening in days. Like right now, I mean, you know, I go through different different kinds of essays, but I feel like that essay, I feel like years from now when people look back at what we were going through, I mean, my hope is that essay can stand the test of time. You know what I mean? And it's an essay where I'm trying to do something I've never done. Like it's 14 parts. You know, I'm doing every part of essay writing in there. Like I'm trying to do scenic work. I'm doing reporting. I'm doing, you know, trying to make Trump and Tate into secondary characters who I've never tried to do that. But yeah, so, you know, I think that's an important essay for me right now. But the worst of white folks, just in terms of, you know, I like that essay a lot. A lot of people tend to not talk about that essay, but
that's the one that's most taught here.
Oh,
Word.
I did not know that. I did not know that. That's really interesting. I mean, you know, it's. I mean, I feel weird talking about my own work that way, but I really like that essay, fam. Like, you know, part of it is because I love that kid in there. I'm writing about David Rozier. Like that boy was my heart, man. Like we were, like it was me, Lathan, and him. Like that was gang. Like we were loving each other. We were playing ball. We were, you know, doing the things the boys do. And when he died, it was just so scary. So that last image of like, you know, me throwing the bomb to him, that's literally the last time like whenever I think about David, I think about him running a post route and me throwing a bomb to him. And because he never got to grow up because he died. But yeah.
My mom used to sat in her Conversations in Race talking about her education section, like about just and then kind of ask a question, when do Black boys, are they perceived as men? And when you look at Tamir Rice, and when do they stop being seen as threatening when they're old, like 70, 80, what age are they non-threatening? And so that's one of the things. So yeah, so your favorite essay is Mississippi in Days. My favorite one is partially because I heard you read it.
Right.
And that was so great. If anyone hasn't seen that or whatever, forget the rest of the interview, but go to the Emmett Till Center and look at his interview. And the beginning is him reading Mississippi. And it is the best. Well, first of all, get a box Kleenex. It is the best thing I've heard read. And I was so angry that he was not able to read. I will not be able to read this until what, 2022?
Right, I won't be able to read it. But you know, it was Emmett Till's. It was 75th anniversary too. You know, it was that was a lot that night.
It was a lot, but it was so very good. And I was very upset that it was kind of neutered a little bit. I loved it when I first read it in Vanity Fair until I realized it was edited. I called it neutered, but it was edited. Because to me, there was the part that was edited was the arc, right? And it's like you're missing that arc that of where anyway. So go to that if you want to feel all the feels.
Thank you, Amina. That's nice.
What contributed to the initial writing of How to Slowly Kill Yourself? I'm assuming they're saying the essay, not the book.
Oh yeah, you know, I'd written all of the other essays for that initial collection, and the one thing that I could not write at the time was like I couldn't write about my experience at Bassett, really, and I couldn't write about what got me to Bassett was getting kicked out of Millsaps, because I mean, people would say call it trauma, but I was just afraid to go back and walk through it in present tense like I do, because that also was, I mean, that essay really is like my following the gun for like 2 years, like my relationship with guns. And so that's what I wrote that essay for. Like I needed to really situate how I got to where I am in the world, and getting kicked out of school for taking a library book out of a library was how I got there.
And I told you when you went back there, you needed to go and steal that book again.
Oh, I stole that book.
You said you were going to take your own book.
I did.
Which I think was doper. Like to go there and take your own book.
Yeah,
like, what you going to do now?
Right.
Everyone always asks this question, no offense, but as a Black person who has suffered my entire life with disordered eating, I really appreciate heavy and how you talked about things that we normalize, the under eating, the restricted eating, the over exercising. When you shed those habits, how have you become comfortable with the weight, with the heaviness?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm trying to become comfortable with it every day I wake up. And like art is one way I try to get comfortable with it, accepting help, being there for people in every way I can is another way. But the food shit, I think sometimes people, I mean, I don't think this person is asking this way, but sometimes people want you to say like, I'm over that, like I've conquered that. That's not where I am. I have a much better relationship with eating food than I have at other points in my life. But when I'm overwhelmed, I still find a little bit of safety in like trying to starve or trying to eat way too much, but it's not anywhere near as bad as it was because it's not as unaddressed as it was. Like now I wrote a book about that shit, so I'm not gonna front like I'm swimming in that same sort of like lava. I'm in another pool of lava now. Like, but the mirror still is way, like much more scary. Mirrors are scarier to me than like food, under eating, overeating. It's the mirror to me that's like,
Well, yeah, because then you see your former self or you think about your former self. It's more to me, there needs to be a focus on being healthy, not
right.
being ideal body size, but being healthy.
Yeah.
But when you have trauma, that's going to manifest itself way in gambling or overeating. And until you deal with that, you're going to have that.
I was talking to someone who was a therapist about this stuff. And then they were like, well, let's do this ACE score or something. I was like, what is, they were like, do you know your ACE score? And I was like, what the fuck is ACE score? I thought they were talking about like the hardware store. And then I was like, no. And then they're like, okay. And they started asking me these questions. And then I answered them. And halfway through that test, you're like, oh shit, like I don't want to take this test anymore. Because your score, especially when your score is like mine, which was mad high.
Very.
And I don't know why I'm saying that, but like it was really interesting to know that there's like a test for the shit that I was writing through. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I should have known about the ACE test before I wrote that book.
I don't think you needed to know about it, but I'm surprised you thought that didn't know that you were going to have a very, very, very high score.
I thought I was like, my mama used to take me to get peanut butter parfaits. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way my shit could be out the roof. And then my score was mad high. It was like second to the highest.
It's interesting. I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, I don't understand why we decide to hold on to certain memories and ignore other memories.
Right.
Like I have maybe one bad memory of my mom, right?
Wow.
Out of my entire, there had to be more, but I only have one bad memory. And I was just saying to my daughter the other day, I think it's perspective, and certain people you don't want to have bad memories about.
That's right. Yeah.
But on the flip side, those people, like my mom told me to wear my glasses. She texted me right before this to wear my glasses, and I didn't. And I feel like really bad this entire time because I'm not wearing my glasses. So even though I don't need them, I don't need reading glasses. So I don't know why I would need to wear my glasses. Like, it'll make your eyes look bigger or your cheeks look, I don't know why she said that, but she's just like, wear your glasses. And I was talking to my daughter about this the other day, like 100 people can tell you that you look great. And one person, if that's the right person, can tell you, wow, you look like shit today. And you will go change your clothes.
And the thing about my mama is she knows she's that person to me, fam. So she hit me, and this is like, sometimes I'm like, there's nobody who can make you feel more like shit than like, the person who raised you, be that a grandparent, a parent. And yesterday when I was did the echo conversation with my boys, like my mama was like, Key, I saw your conversation with those young men. You looked more tired than anybody. I thought you said you were sleeping. Like, like hurting my feelings like a motherfucker. So I'm never gonna go back and look at that now, right? But on the flip,
it was fantastic. Maybe you should just listen to it, not watch it.
But look, I'm a devil, right? Like, this is the thing. Like, I'll be telling my mama, like, I'm your son, fam. Like, that shit you got in you, I got a little bit of that in me. So I looked at this video of her giving a talk, and I hit her back with, Mama, I just looked at this video you did. And then I did the English professor shit. I was like, you don't shift the point of view in the middle of the talk. Like, like, it's like you start talking as like what you saw as like a middle schooler, but then you extend that when you really need to make a delineation. And she took that shit, so she was like, where's the video key? Tell me where it is. I can't believe they put that up. And I'm like, see, that shit fucking don't feel good, does it?
Not to mention, I think we already said that Kai and Darnell also, it's just unfair. It is unfair. Their genetics are unfair. That is genetic. That is not something that they're eating or putting on their skin. That is genetic. Just live with it.
But they deny that. They deny that. They act like they won't tell us. They like, we know how to do this, but we ain't telling y'all.
Have you seen Darnell's family? His whole family is just very attractive.
Yes.
Like, there's just nothing that you can do, and they're so put together. It's like,
there's
nothing you can do about that. That was unfair of your mom to point that out on that beach.
That's her.
Has the exploration of your relationship with your mother shifted in the way you hold your relationships with others in your life? That's a good question.
Yes. I just think it's hard to be as kind to yourself or people close to you when, like, the most important relationship in your sort of formation is corroded and corrosive. And people closest to me saw things in my relationship with my mother that I didn't see long before I did, but it's my, they didn't know how to, it's hard to talk to somebody about their relationship with their mother. And so they were trying. I look back now and I see some of the things some of my friends said, and they were trying to talk to me about it, but they didn't want to overstep. So yeah, I think working overtly on that relationship has helped me in other relationships for sure. I think so.
And then this is a kind of question that's related, is how do you handle writing about difficult family relationships? You've been asked this a couple times. Do you approach family members with your writing about them prior to publication? Yeah. I know the answer to that is yes.
Yeah. I'm not trying to sneak up on anybody, except, there are a few people, like, reasons I want to sneak up on, but I'm not going to write some shit about my family, particularly if it's like could be seen as remotely critical, and not talk to them about that first.
So if it's funny, it's just a funny story, you're like, I'm not going to ask you.
Yeah, but even then I ask, because sometimes I want to know if it's potentially funnier than I think, or if I'm just making it funny to get through the memory and everybody else remembers it as like not funny. You know what I mean? But yeah, I talk to my, but I've been thinking a lot about consent and age, not just mental health, but like age. It really is mental health, and like it's hard to get. I wonder what we're supposed to do with consent when some of our parents or grandparents like get Alzheimer's or dementia. So I've talked to my grandmother about damn near everything I've ever written about her. I've talked to her about those scenes. But as she's getting older, she's just more in the throes of dementia, more in the throes of a lot of things. And so, I don't even know, can she consent to have her likeness be represented? I've been thinking about that ethically.
Of course you have, because you overthink about everything.
Right. It's so fun.
So of course you have. Of course you have.
Yeah,
did that person consent to me going and opening the door for them?
Right.
Your brain is constantly doing
definitely
that. True. But I think that your process that you've described before, that you did with Heavy, where you not only did it for the consent piece, but because you wanted to see the other person's perspective, right, and to see, like my daughter was talking earlier about how you were saying that that a memoir is always going to be, to a certain point, fictive, because you're not going to have everyone's point of view in there.
Right.
And I think that as much as you can, you go above and beyond to be respectful and to try to have the most honest version of what happened.
Right.
Which is something that most people don't do.
That's the hope.
What has been the most memorable? What did I just do? What has been the most memorable piece you read by a student, and what has made it so memorable coming from a writing student?
Wow.
Don't answer that, because then you'll insult your other students.
No, but I've been teaching for like 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be mad if you ain't uh
As a former student, yes, I can be mad. I want to
okay. I'm gonna heed that. I'm gonna just say, yeah, I'm gonna heed that and say I've read a like tremendous amount of work from like students. Like, this is what's ill about my life. Like, my students that I taught like in the early 2010s, like a lot of them got published books before I did. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'd be teaching them as first year students, second year students, third year, and they knew I was trying to get my work out. And then they'd come out with like, like Chloe Benjamin came out with The Immortalist, and she published an incredible book before that. But like Chloe we were just in my office talking about at undergrad stuff. So I'm saying that to say I'm really inspired to read more deeply and to write better by a lot of my students.
How many books do you read a year? Like thousands.
Oh my God.
Thousands, right? Thousands.
Gotta read a lot. When I was doing the judge for the National Book Award, we had to read 700, and but we had to read it in like a condensed short amount of time, and we had other jobs, and that was the most. But then I thought, I was like, damn, I've read more books than this before. Why does this feel like this? Because like usually you're reading shit that you have an affinity for.
Read. You choose.
I'm not reading like all of the Trump books, like ever. I don't want to do that for my like well-being. But like, yeah, I mean, I have no idea how many books I have to read a year, but it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah.
This is from my mom. What is your writing process like? How are you able to be so productive and so accessible to your audience?
I mean, I think I just value the writing process. So that's why, I write I generally tend to write every day. I'm pushing myself now to not write every day. Like I've been talking on these things about weed and stuff, but like, and it's funny to me because I was so late to it, but really like weed was a way to get me not to write. Like I was immersing myself too much in the writing process, getting up in the morning, writing 2 hours, revising in the middle of the day, writing 2 hours before I went to bed, spending the whole weekend revision. That can create work that is like, has some integrity to it, but it's not a way to live in the world, especially not in your 40s. That shit is kind of cool maybe in your 20s. When you get to your 40s, that's not a healthy writing practice. So I've been trying to do things to take myself away from writing and away from critical reading too. Like, and my reefer regimen has helped me with that.
How do you take care of yourself when you're writing? This is from Alexis. Thank you so much for your words and work. My spirit has needed what you do forever.
Wow, people being super nice on this. Yeah. Wait, what's the question? I'm just swimming in like the compliment.
How do you take care of yourself?
Oh yeah, the thing about me is like I just used to use my legs. Like my legs were like what I used for like 15, 20 years to escape. And whenever things would get too stressful, I would just go walk and run. And then when I got these deeply arthritic hips, I was like going forward was hard. So I would figure out ways to do my exercises going backwards, which was very obsessive. And now I'm just really like spending a lot of time looking into like alternative therapies for different sorts of things that like I think I might be going through,
Have you thought about water?
Yes.
I think that would be great.
That's why like the whole point of me being, I got this Radcliffe fellowship and I was supposed to be in Massachusetts the whole year. And I was getting a spot like either with a pool or right there with water, like fam, like this was going to be my year. And like when you're a big person or a small person, a big person became small and got big again, you always like, this year I'm finna get it back. But I wasn't even trying to be healthy about it. I was just like, I'm finna go lose about 70, get my shit together. And then I was like, fool, you roll heavy. Like, why are you still chasing? And so that's where I am with that. I'm healthier. I can say I'm happier and healthier than I've been in a long, long time.
Yeah, I was just saying the water just because I know that you have 2 bad hips, and so that's a way to exercise and not until you're able to. It's a safe time for you to get surgery. Like it's a good way of moving, but not putting too much pressure on your joints.
Fam, you're doing this like a professional. Do you run Zooms like all day?
You know what? I just started running the Zooms for my mom's WB The Voice that you're going to be on. So she's very excited about that. Where do you want to take your art? Where do you want your art to take you personally at this point? And where do you want it to take the Black community? That's a similar question to what my sister also had. Is like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to ask the Black community anything that I don't ask for myself. And what I want from myself is, like, you know, if and when I have harmed people, I want to have the wherewithal and the fortitude to ask those people how I can repair that harm, or to ask myself how I can repair that harm. And I want that from everybody, particularly Black community, but you know, we definitely need that from these other communities. And much more importantly, I want us to work on being heavier. Like, it's not just a cliche answer. Like, I think we're harder to fucking get individually if we can hold on to one another. And that means we have to hold on through, you know, through lots of things that might not be nice. I don't think you need to hold on to somebody's hand who abuses you or harms you in any way. But I think we can do a better job as Black folk at really loving Black folk. Like, that's the thing about these people. Like, they've tried to destroy us, and we don't even know what like radical love in our communities look like in mass. I think we do, and we do, but we don't know what it looks like in mass. So I'm trying to create art to make myself be a better human being, and a better Black Southern writer, and a better Southerner, and a better cisgendered man. Like, I want to be better, but you can't be better unless you look backwards. And I'm trying to create art that makes people want to look backwards and forward at the same time.
I feel like there's probably, I know you feel like you did stuff like harmed people in the past, but I do not know anyone. And every single time you're in an interview, people love you. And I feel like as a person who is an introvert, who does not really like people, I could not handle the amount of love that people bestow upon you. I would be like, I'm going to never leave the house again. But
it's tough though, because I don't know,
that people, like, people like, oh, they were like, oh, do you have book signs? Yeah, you have book signs at Oxford, the Oxford bookstore. What is that called?
Square Books.
Square Books. And then you're like, oh, but I have some extra if you want me to sign them for you. No.
And then you had to hit me and be like, you ain't even at home.
I want to be the queen of, like, hire me just to say no. I will do it for $1 an hour just to say no, because I feel like at some point you're gonna burn out. You're gonna burn out because the bigger you've gotten, you still act like that boy from Jackson.
Wow.
And you're just still like, hey, oh yeah, of course I can do that, fam. Like, how many things have you done this year?
Fam, why you reading me on the Zoom this?
How many things have you done this year? And how many percentage of those have been paid? Have been paid? How many percentage?
I mean, some of them, probably a small fraction, but I feel you. But
I'm saying, your girl Jessamine, how many does she do that are not paid? 0. Okay. You know why?
I mean,
because we need to teach people to pay Black people. And I'm now on that with my mom's tip too. Like, you have got to learn that you might not need the money, but the Black person after you might need that setup to say, you need to pay people.
Right.
It's like I wrote that post that said, you know, I didn't value artist work until I saw my daughter, who is very good drawer, but that's not her livelihood. Like, that's her art of Kiese and Richard right behind me.
Yes.
But that's not her thing. And so I was using her, and other people were using her because we're like, oh, she likes it and she's good at it. I guess I don't have to pay for it. I'll pay her minimum wage. But as I said to you, the payment is the time.
Right.
Every 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night and all that revision that you're doing. It's like Stacey Abrams. People are like, I'm so grateful for her. You know what? We live in a capitalist society. Gratefulness comes via money. Man, okay, give her money, and to the point where she doesn't ever have to work again if she doesn't want to, because that's how much she's done for us.
That's real.
Enough with the thank yous. Like, give her money. This woman still has debt, student loan debt. Like, No, give her money. Like, don't
Yeah.
give her thank yous, give her money. And I said, you know, I'm on that tip with you too. Like,
I feel
it's
you.
not necessarily about you. It's about
Right.
people. We already give, Twitter already gives enough Black creativity for free. Twitter period gives so much Black creativity for free. So
what if they monetize that? What if that creativity was somehow...
there'd be a bunch of little Black kids that were millionaires. That's
exactly
what would happen.
right, as it should be, as it should
yes.
be.
Can you talk about? Well, I know the answer to this. How somebody asked how you reorder, why and how you reordered the essays in the new release. Also, that's ownership and why it's so important to you specifically now.
Yeah, so in terms of the, like, you know, I think sequencing is how you determine like what happens in anything. And even in an essay book, which is interesting because people don't usually read essays like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, they look through the title and they pick the titles they want to read. But for me, I wanted to tell this story from where we are literally kind of quasi now all the way back to the first piece, which is really like my Uncle Jimmy, because my Uncle Jimmy and my Aunt Sue finding Uncle Jimmy's his notebook was sort of what gave me the title, what gave me the spirit to go forth with How to Slowly Kill Yourself and Others. But I just wanted to tell the story backwards. So if you're reading it, you know, it's not a novel, it's not a memoir, but it reads backwards, right? It like I'm talking now from a point of view of someone who's got back to Mississippi, who really is considering leaving again. And then the second essay, you know, I'm sort of trying to get my feel around where I am in terms of like the house that I live in. And then the third essay, you know, sort of when I just got to Oxford, so I'm still trying to discover, and it just goes back. So I'm telling the story backwards, and before it was just purely a linear story. So I look like we might have to get up off of here. Oh, and the first part of that question was, what was the first part of that question? Oh, why did I buy it back? Because I literally was tired of somebody getting much more money from my art than I was. I've been trying to buy that book back for like 3 or 4 years. And so this summer I was able to strategically do it in a way and collaborate with Scribner in a way that was like definitely beneficial for my family going forward. And I just didn't want to have my art out there being like, well, you know, I didn't want somebody to be making money off my art who like didn't respect me or my family enough to do right by us. So that was it.
So I'm going to try to speed read some of these questions. They haven't read any of your work. What book would you recommend this first reading? And also they asked if what would I do. My quick one is, you probably shouldn't start with heavy. You should probably start with How to Slowly Kill Yourself.
Yeah,
like that was what I would start. And then you would go to heavy. And then,
right.
well, or Long Division, but you're redoing Long Division, and so I'm really excited for that.
Coming out in August, it's going to be incredible.
I'm very excited for that. So maybe not read Long Division until you're giving money to him.
I would
and
do How to
someone
Slowly,
else.
and then go
How
to
to
heavy.
Slowly, and then to heavy. And then he has some really great essays that are not in the book as well, that's
right.
awesome. As a writing student, I would love to know what you think is the most important thing to keep in mind when writing about privilege as a white person. I don't know if you can answer that, can you?
I don't know, but what I would think is I think I would ask that person to ask themselves what happens if they ask that question and they replace power with privilege. I would start there, because I think if you replace power with privilege, you see power as something that can be abused and something that can be exploited. And I think we have to start talking about power as opposed to privilege, all of us, but definitely like white people interested in exploring white supremacy. I look like we up out of here. We got one more.
Right. As a survivor of addiction, what are the primary lessons you have learned from recovery, and how do these things manifest in your relationships with your writing?
Yeah, I haven't had like formal recovery, but I will say, I mean, it's just sort of cliche, but you know, every time we often think we've progressed past something, we probably still have a lot more work to do. So I just often, I don't think that I'm like, I've reckoned with something because I've written about it. I still know that there's so much more work to do. And I think the same might hold true for folks in recovery.
And this is like, I know that this is, I know you are going to redo the audiobook of How to Slowly Kill Yourself. It'll be out in like what?
Yeah, like the audio, Audible has the audio rights till 2022. And so I'm going to reread it then. And I own that book, but that contract isn't up till 2022. So then I'll just redo
so that's when you'll
audio.
do it.
Yeah.
When did
Go ahead.
When did you consider yourself a successful writer?
I don't yet.
Yeah,
but I'm
there you
working on
go.
it.
I knew that was a quick one. And then there's a really long one, but you've written a lot about your relationship to music and other art forms. You recently had a beautiful essay alongside of photographs in your Times about City Boys. You also are doing a children's book around that theme, right?
That's being made into a children's picture book.
I'm so excited about that. I was wondering what your relationship might be to photographs. What is your relationship to gardens, since there was a beautiful garden scene in that picture? I know.
I can't even answer that, but like gardens are so important in the next work that I'm creating. And I hope this person really likes it, because I think writing about and drawing gardens is so hard, and I've just been practicing for the last like 2 or 3 months, and I think I finally got it. So
I think about your grandma's garden and how important it was to grow your own food.
Yes. Thank you so much, Amina, fam. Like, this is greater than I could have ever imagined. I'm gonna hit you when we get off of this, but thank you so much. I'm very, very thankful. Thank you.
You guys can come back in.
Oh my gosh. Thank you both so much. This has been amazing. Sydney, do you want to say a couple words about America's Black Holocaust Museum for everyone? I think you should.
Okay. Yes. Thank you both for that conversation. It's been wonderful. America's Black Holocaust Museum is an institution in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, originally founded by one of few known survivors of a lynching in American history. And not to just breeze by that history, but we were planning to reopen this year. COVID obviously changed that plan. And so now we're planning our reopening next year. So please stay tuned and visit our website. Check us out on social media. And if you have any questions, I'll be around. You can find our contact page online.
All right. Thank y'all. Thank you, Sydney. Thank you, Chris.
Bye.
Thank you so much,
everybody,
Amina,
for supporting me. Bye.
Thank you all so much. And thanks to everyone for joining us. We wouldn't have a bookstore without you. Good night, everybody.